NDP sisters, good morning. My Western George sisters, good morning. Mr. President, Dr. Godwin Friday, past President, Mr. Eustace, other members of the head table, parliamentarians, caretakers, my sisters, good morning. I am a female rights activist, and I'm also a human rights activist. I believe in equal rights and equality for all people. Men, women, children, black, white, yellow, or red. We are all entitled to equal rights under the administration of justice in St. Vincent. And under the rule of law, victims as well as defendants have equal rights. So with that in mind, if we are to be empowered as women in St. Vincent, we need to know our rights and privileges as Vincentians. So my talk today has been adapted, excerpts from a lecture which I delivered to celebrate the bicentennial lecture series for Girls High School. And it is entitled, Privileges and Responsibilities of Vincentian Citizens, the Individual and Corporate Social Responsibility. And when I say the word corporate, I'm using it in its widest sense. We, as citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, are all shareholders in the company of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Limited. We must therefore take social responsibility for the development and growth of our beloved nation. The Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sections 90 to 95, deals with citizenship. These provisions regarding citizenship represent our share certificate in this company called St. Vincent and the Grenadines Limited. We are all equal shareholders with equal rights and privileges and responsibilities, which we must all participate in if we're going to make this company profitable. A historical fruit. Let us begin with the individual I. We must all be able to answer that question, who am I? The individual existence of a human being is not only the product of his or her lifetime. If we begin with the first man and the first woman, Adam and Eve, our ancestry flowed down to the present time, like a river passing tributaries and many waterways, over falls and cliffs and even whirlpools, before the stream of our ancestry can reach us. We are therefore a product of our history. Many of us identify with our African, Indian, or even European roots to a lesser extent. But is this who we are? Should our slavery and indentured servants background define us? Or be just a part of the historical river of the who am I? What about the original Arawaks and Simonese and Caribs? They too form a part of our chain of custody. If we liken each of us to a drop of water, dropped from heaven to earth, flowing towards the ocean, absorbing things as we flow, we widen our scope as we all meet in that ocean of life. Yet, we each have our own characteristics. We strive to maintain this individual characteristic, and we think that we are more valuable than the world. Even though we are just a drop, we want to be center. We want to become self-centered. We think of things starting from ourselves, but are we pure water like rain, or are we salt water, or even dirty water? This is the question. We know that water is H2O. That's a fixed formula. But is there a formula to define the purity of an individual's heart? Our conscience directs us towards what we think is good. It is external to our original mind, which is internal, and which pursues absolute goodness since it comes from God. If we are to fulfill our obligations, the women of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, As leaders, we need to know what caused the fall. What are the characteristics of that fall that took place in the Garden of Eden? There are 4 primary characteristics of the fallen nature which we have to guard ourselves against. Number 1, failure to take God's standpoint. Lucifer failed to love Adam and Eve with the heart of God. He felt jealous of God's love for them, so he tempted Eve. This is reflected, say, in an employee who is jealous of the boss's favorite worker, and instead of respecting him as one of the boss's loves, try to emulate his goodness, we find ways of destroying that person. Examples of the fallen nature are envy, jealousy, resentment, covetousness, self-centeredness, and we negate our place in the universe when we fail to love our neighbors. The second characteristic of our fallen nature is leaving one's proper position. Lucifer was created as an angel to protect and guide Adam and Eve, but he wanted more. He wanted the same high position in the physical human world as he enjoyed in the angelic world, so he left his position and fell. This unrighteous characteristic is repeated over and over as we hold unrighteous desires to overstep our boundaries and cross the line, like adultery and disloyalty and victimization. These are some of the examples of this fallen nature. Third characteristic, number 3, reversing dominion. Lucifer was to be under the dominion of Adam and Eve once they matured. He instead reversed his position and dominated them. In our society is thrown out of order by people who leave their position and dominate others, like children who want to dominate parents or the teachers, like men trying to dominate women, or using power to dominate and victimize others unfairly. The fourth fallen nature is multiplying the wrong act. After Eve's fell with Lucifer, she multiplied it by encouraging Adam to eat the proverbial apple. Man's proclivity is to seduce and entangle others in their web of crime and deception is an expression of this fourth characteristic. So the fundamental motivation for the fall lay in envy and jealousy, and a failure to understand our place in the universe as created by God. So we must therefore, if we want to be successful individuals and leaders, guard against these inherited fallen nature and strive to build a society based on mutual respect, universally shared values, recognizing the selfish, self-centered motivation is contrary to God's ideal for man. Thus, if we are to attain God's ideal of creation and to become a good citizen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we must acknowledge that the downfall of one individual may cause the whole to perish. As a corporate citizen, we must bear the responsibility to curb these envious desires in ourselves and in our fellow citizens, because after all, we are our brother's keepers, contrary to what Cain said about Abel. Unchangeability. What value should we strive for? We should strive to be like gold and diamonds. Why gold and diamonds are so beloved? This is because they do not change. They are solid and pure and remain unchangeable in quality and color. Therefore, the more valuable a thing is, the less changeable it is. Can we of Vincentians be pure and strong and unchangeable? This means that we must not adopt one set of standards for something, then change when it suits us for power or money or fame. We must be able to go back to the origin of creation and find our original selves. So what qualities does it take to become a good citizen? We need love, compassion, loyalty, selflessness. And where do we begin? We begin with ourselves, trying to perfect our spirit, mind, and bodies centered on God. Then we build a true family, a true nation, a true world, and an eternal cosmos. Does this sound illusionary? I looked at the movie Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, starring Idris Elba. The situation in South Africa, if you remembered, in the 1960s appeared insurmountable. The blacks had no power. Fear reigned. The white minority government was in absolute control. And Mandela told his people, you and you and you and I alone cannot do it. But together we have power. Shareholders in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As a shareholder in this corporate St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what are our duties as citizens? Now, citizenship is defined as the state of being vested with rights, privileges, and duties as a citizen. And these rights and duties are enshrined, as I said, in Chapter 1 of our Constitution. Here are what our privileges are: the right to life and protection from personal liberty, protection from slavery and forced labor and inhuman treatment, protection from the deprivation of property, arbitrary search or entry, protection of the law, freedom of expression and conscience, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly and association, protection from discrimination on grounds of race, color, place of origin, political opinions, color, class, or creed. But my dear sisters, there is no freedom without responsibility. And what are our responsibilities as citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? The character of an individual viewed as a member of society, behavior in terms of duties, obligations, and functions of a citizen. Our duties and responsibilities include, but is not limited to, the following: support and defend the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So where you see Rav Gonsalves want to go into Parliament and rape our Constitution by removing our right to a vote of no confidence, it is our duty to support and defend our Constitution. It is our duty to stay informed of the issues affecting our community. We can't push our head into a bag and say, Yugi does not matter. She is not related to me. It is our duty to stay informed of issues affecting our community. It is our duty to participate in the democratic process, like what we're going to do here today when we vote and select leaders to lead this organization, which will help this organization to lead the NDP, to lead St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But it is our duty to respect the rights, beliefs, and opinions of others. Participate in your local community. Pay rates and taxes. Serve on a jury when called upon. Defend your country if the need arises. Have a healthy social conscience and not bury it for gain or out of fear. Our civic responsibility includes the following: addressing society's problems in an informal manner, showing respect as well as dissent for our laws. Let me repeat that one. Showing respect as well as dissent. So if there is a law that is unjust, it is part of our civic responsibility to try to get it removed. Recognizing the difference between legally defined and culturally defined citizenship, as Rav Gonsalves is trying to do with our present leader, which is nonsense argument about him not being fit to run, to sit in Parliament. We know that our Constitution gives him the right to have dual citizenship. Let us defend that right. Don't fall for his nonsense talk, because he himself knows better, because in Parliament, he himself said the exact words that Canadians and Nigerians can come here and run to sit in Parliament. So this is not just his fight or NDP fight, it's St. Vincent and the Grenadines fight. Let's defend that right. Establishing a balance between rights and responsibilities. Understanding the concept of the common good and who defines it. Labor love. Labor love is not the common good. Labor love is selfish love. We have to talk about St. Vincent love, one nation. That's what we have to talk about. Who defines it? It is also part of our civic responsibility to question government policies and practices. Engaging in active citizenship is a process that goes beyond passive citizenship. We have a right to be proactive. Determining ways to alter public policy for the common good. Reaching varying degrees of political awareness and advocacy by developing a voice and making ourselves be heard. Kudos to those ladies who have been protesting since the petition. They have given a voice to us. They have been helping us. That is part of our civic responsibility. Now, the most important and oftentimes not spoken about role of citizenship is recognizing the importance of the family. The family is the key to sustainable development goals. Family contributions like lifting people out of poverty. Family contributes to lifting people out of poverty, as was done in Africa under the Family Preservation Program, which fostered programs which increased the use of pure drinking water, decreased domestic violence and adult literacy, increased family-owned businesses, and encouraged the use of latrines by over 100% Africans. And there's a video called Mainstreaming the Family in Post-2015 United Nations Development Goals, a video that I would recommend that you take a look at. A survey measured the cost to society of family breakdown in the United Kingdom. It was $45 billion in 2013. In the United States, family breakdown was measured at $112 billion annually. I wonder what is that cost in St. Vincent and the Grenadines because of family breakdown. So family is the most significant. As corporate Vincentians, we need to completely unite our bodies with our minds, and our minds must be guided by the public thought, by what is good for the whole. We must be willing to sacrifice in order to achieve unity with our minds centered on God and God's ideal of creation. What is the position of the human beings in the cosmos? The human beings, we were created to rule the universe. God does not govern the universe directly, you know. God put us into the universe to govern the universe. He created us to be the mediator between and the center of the cosmos, to encapsulate substantially the essence of everything in the cosmos. We must therefore attain perfection of our physical bodies as well as our spiritual self, since our spirit self must grow while on earth in our physical bodies. Love is the source of life. Everything in the universe is created, governed by God through love. So love is the source of life, and it is the key, like NDP, the key to our happiness. The more one receives love, the more beautiful one appears. So therefore, we must strive to become citizens of the kingdom of heaven right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right here on earth, centered on orderly, principled, and a prosperous society, led by principled leaders with unselfish motives. As women, mothers, sisters, daughters, aunties, we are the nurturers of society. We must take the lead. Does this sound illusionary? Like utopia? I think not. Raise your hand at me if you think not. Raise your hand, sisters. We can do this. We can do this. We know that a society permeated with love, pure, strong, and altruistic love, will always prosper. Thank you.